realized that Nigeria should not even whisper.
How long do we need to fix the foundation?
Fixing the foundation before we go to the superstructure is not something difficult. I'm going to tell you the truth. What America did is what we can learn from and improve upon. America's founding fathers, as big as America is, its founding fathers are just about 7 people. And what did these founding fathers do? They sat down together to lay a foundation by thinking ahead and creating a basis on which the Constitution could lie. In 1787, America had its first constitutional conference that was very difficult. At that time, the American dollar was of extremely poor value. It wasn't worth the paper on which it was printed. Fighting and rioting had broken out in America. New England was about to succeed, just like the Biafran issues going on today. Everything was so bad that France and Spain, the world powers of that day, were waiting to inherit the disunited states of America. But why did they succeed? They succeeded at that conference because, listen to me, they had a foundation laid by 7 people, which was what? The Declaration of the American Independence, which is a short document, 1,330 something words. A short document that a meat seller, a meat pie seller, a farmer, everybody can understand. Now, if you start talking about federation, regionalism, and all these things, you cut off 95% of the population. So what the founding fathers did was that they first laid a simple foundation that everybody can understand and agree to. And afterwards, the American Constitution minus amendments is 4,400 words. The Nigerian Constitution is 66,200 and, in excess of 66,000 words already.
So for us to get it right, we should start from there as a foundation.
We need to go back and lay the foundation that Zeke, Awolowo, and Ahmadu Bello and co could not lay. All we need to do is put it in the hearts of the people, what bonds us together as a nation. And then you find out that, look, if we went for the restructure of the upper part of the building without restructuring the foundation, we'll be back to square one within months. Why? The low value to human worth will always be the result. We fall into the trap because the program that was set in our foundation, the program that was designed not to make us succeed, is still working. But if we just get back, we don't need more than about 10, 15 people. We don't need a jamboree of 2,500 people.
The problem is getting those 10 or 15 people.
Believe you me, it's
Where do we
easier,
start from?
very easy in the African environment. In the African environment, you find out that there are personalities all over this country who have made their mark. When we talk about founding fathers, we're talking about fathers who can be declared as fathers indeed. In the American example, George Washington was a soldier. Thomas Jefferson, there were businessmen, there were different. For instance, in this country right now, let me just make one out of many I can call up. Let me just mention one name, for instance, who are people who qualify to be founding fathers for this country, who can build on what the earlier liberating fathers did for us. Let me talk about someone like Dr. Christopher Kolade. With his wealth of experience and years of accumulated integrity and what he has in hand, why would he not take men of his stature who have proven their lives, they've proven their integrity, they've proven their respect for humanity, bring them together? And you know what the Americans did in their first constitutional conference? It lasted 4 months. Why? It was more of a palaver than a modern American European style meeting. They realized that the African device of the palaver gives you ample time to iron out all issues. So if Nigeria today, believe me, what's the contribution in the heart of every person? The only challenge that I think Nigeria has, though, is that in executing this, it has to be done in phases. Now, why must it be done in phases? The device that was handed over to the liberating fathers to build upon was designed such that the divide and rule uses one part to oppress the other. And it was also designed to keep some parts fighting one another. For instance, when I study the history of Nigeria, look at documents, a lot of the hatred between, let me give an example, the Igbos and the Yorubas is engineered. It's amazing that people don't realize that such things can be done. It is engineered. Even when you look at the Ijaw and the Shekiri, the power of divide and rule, when you have somebody supervising you, goes way beyond what anybody imagines. In fact, the program normally lasts for a minimum of 650 years.
My goodness.
Oh yes, this can be proven. Everywhere this thing is applied, except you reverse engineer it, it will last at least 650 years minimum. And if you do not still know how to reverse engineer it, it will last for at least 1,000 years. I'll give you a good example. Rwanda. 1890, when Urundi, Rwandan territory was wheeled over to Germany in Brussels, there was no black man at the table. In 1894-95, when von Gotzen, the German, went to claim his territory in Rwanda, he met a people who are one community, one language, no tribes. When the machinery of divide and rule moved into place, they created two tribes, Hutus, Tutsis. How? If you had 10 cows and more, you were a Tutsi. If you had less than 10 cows, you were a Hutu. So initially you could start the year as a Hutu, prosper, and then become a Tutsi. But watch this. You now continue to engineer. This thing is delicate engineering. You begin to create the divide and animosity between them. Now, Germany lost the World War, and then Belgium took over. By 1933, Belgium had introduced ID cards. So you could no longer cross over from being a Hutu to a Tutsi. And they will favor a little elite and create bone animosity. Look, by the time they got their independence, Gregoire Kayibanda, the first president of Rwanda, who was a Hutu, mentioned that between the Tutsis and Hutus, there is no relationship. They are like two people from two different planets. You know the interesting thing? They still speak the same language till today. The 1994 so-called genocide was not really a genocide. It was an organized crime, an explosion, a time bomb that was set into motion in 1895.
Did it work for good eventually?
Well, in 1.2 million people were slaughtered in 100 days in 1994. Brothers killed brothers. Today, Rwanda has a semblance of progress. But for people like us who have studied the progress will be there as long as you return the programmers who stay in place to keep your animosities minimal. For instance, Nigeria used to be ruled by the colonial office, but as we move towards independence, the importance of the Commonwealth Relations Office, CRO, increased. Let me tell you something about Nigeria right now. If we love ourselves, we cannot pull out of the Commonwealth.
Okay, we'll go to break, a short break, but we'll be back and continue with the train of thought in just a moment. Join us again.